Well, another year of gaming has come and gone, and another one is almost ready to come upon us with some very promising games. But today, I want to take a look back at this year, and man, this has been one great year for gamers. A lot of new games were released that I really enjoyed, a lot of which I was really looking forward to, but there were also some other older games that I was introduced to this year as well. The games I played this year were so good that I couldn't stop at just 10. So I'm here to count down my top 15 games I played in 2014. Like with other lists that have come before mine from other countdown artists, the games on this list did not have to come out in 2014. Just so long as I played them in 2014, anything is fair game. And since some of the games I played this year will be different from other lists, I might just pique your interest with some of these games. But because there were so many games to play this year, I wasn't able to get to them in time for this list's creation. So this list will not have these games. If only I had the money. Now, keep in mind that this list may contain spoilers for various games, so be warned. And remember that this is all my own opinion. These are just the games that I enjoyed playing the most this year. And with that said, let the chaos commence! Animal Crossing New Leaf allows the player to live a life outside of real life. You can settle in your own home, meet new friends, and buy stuff. So what happens when you keep some of the things from Animal Crossing, but put in the Miis and pretty much play God over their lives? Why, this, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, take notice. This is
Waifu Simulator 2014, now with fan shipping!
Otherwise known as Tomodachi Life. Anyway, in Tomodachi Life, you create Miis of whoever you want, famous celebrities, friends, YouTubers, etc., and watch how they react with one another. You pretty much have complete control over most of what they do. You buy them clothes, you give them decorations for their apartment, you feed them food, you create songs for them. The only thing you can't control is what the Miis decide to do when they interact with each other. Sure, you can influence their decisions, but it's all up to chance what they do. Of course, you could always just not save, turn off the game, and see if something different happens. Thankfully, no one comes in to scold you for resetting the game. Now, unfortunately, looking over the Mii's lives, giving them items, and influencing their decisions is really all you do in this game. But it gets really entertaining at how the Miis go about their days. One minute they want food. The next they invite friends over to play games. Then they'll want to rap battle, and then the next minute they're proposing to each other. That's right, Miis can get married and have children in this game. And depending on who the Miis resemble and how you influence them, this pretty much becomes Waifu Simulator 2014 with fan shipping. So let me get this straight. We have Fire Emblem Awakening, which is Waifu Simulator 2013, and now we have this. What could they possibly have for next year? Oh boy. However you look at it, Tomodachi Life is an interesting way to pass the time. I wouldn't say it's a game for everyone, but I've enjoyed the time I've played with it. Now, I'm currently looking for Miis of other countdown artists for my island. I already have Fawn, Quarter Guy, and the Tree's Apprentice. If anyone has the Miis of other countdown artists, let me know. I'd really appreciate it. So San Diego Comic-Con 2014 occurred, and Nintendo announced that what was once a Japan-only NES title, called the mysterious Murasame Castle, was going to be on the Nintendo 3DS eShop later this year. A character known as Takamaru is the star of this game. Upon hearing this announcement, I began to wonder if Takamaru was going to be in Super Smash Bros. 4. I got excited, wondering what he'll be like. And then the pick of the day right after Comic-Con appears and outright disconfirms him. So I finally downloaded the game and... Why, Sakurai? Just why? Takamaru would have been a great character for Smash 4. There is so much that Takamaru can do in the mysterious Murasame castle. But I should probably explain the game first so you have a good understanding of what I mean. Taking place in Edo period Japan, you play as Takamaru as he travels to locate the mysterious life form in Murasame Castle. To get to Murasame Castle, you must first travel to find 4 castles and defeat the daimyo at each one. Then you reach Murasame Castle for a chance to face the life form. Along the way, you'll have to take down enemies that will try to halt your progress. By defeating enemies, you'll collect various power-ups to help you. So what do you have to use against these enemies? Oh, nothing much. Just fireballs, windmill swords, lightning, ninja arrows, and items that allow you to throw projectiles in 4 directions at once, fire 3 projectiles in different directions, or fire 3 projectiles at the same time. And let's not forget that Takamaru is a swordsman, so he has a sword to attack enemies too. Don't tell me this doesn't warrant a unique character for Smash 4. But no, as soon as this game got announced, Sakurai shot Takamaru down. Oh well. I will warn you, this is an NES game, so it's kinda on the hard side. I mean, I personally haven't beat it yet, but even so, this is still a great game, and if you haven't downloaded it yet, I highly recommend it. DK is back for another round, and it is awesome! Now, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze was supposed to be released last year, but it got delayed to this year, and I think that was a smart move because this is one heck of a platformer. So DK and his friends are celebrating what appears to be DK's birthday, but then a Viking group called the Snowmads come in and blow DK and company far away and freeze the whole island. Now it's up to DK and his friends to take back the island. The gameplay is what you'd expect. It's the same as in DKC Returns, but with a few additions. DK can now pluck different objects as opposed to blowing into things like fans in DKC Returns. The minecart levels are much larger than in the previous game, and now there are underwater sections too. But the biggest and most obvious change to the gameplay is the addition of 2 new partners for DK to carry on his shoulders. Diddy does the exact same thing as he did in DKC Returns, Dixie gives you a second jump with more airtime, and Cranky Kong copycat Scrooge McDuck. And if you have a second Kong on DK's back and fill up the gauge on the health bar icon, you can perform an attack called the Kong Pow, which does different things to enemies depending on which Kong you have with DK. But go for Dixie because she provides additional and extended health. In fact, CJ, you were right. Dixie is probably the most useful in this game. That second jump really comes in handy, and her abilities for underwater sections are a must because some levels have underwater sections with secrets being blocked by water currents that only Dixie can get past. Oh yeah, there's secret exits for levels in the game, leading to new levels, but most of them are reached by using Dixie. Now you see why Dixie is so good in this game. The bosses range from either annoying to really good, and the levels are creative, beautiful, and just downright great to play. But levels do get harder as you progress through the game, so keep that in mind. The gameplay is great, the levels are a joy to play through, and the visuals are outstanding. I mean, just look at the Kongs. All of their hairs are fully detailed and animated, as if it were realistic. And everyone said the power of the Wii U sucked. Shut up. If you haven't picked up this game, go out right after you watch this video and buy it. My one complaint? Loading screens. Nintendo, please fix. Yes, people, Destiny is on this list. Sure, I may be one of those people that's mainly a Nintendo gamer, but I'm open to different things. And I actually enjoyed what I've played so far of Destiny. Now, I'm not all into FPS games, but there are some that I really like Borderlands. In fact, that's what Destiny reminds me of. You play as your own customized character with his or her unique design, character class, and appearance, and you run around huge areas to complete missions, progress through the story, level up your character, and acquire loot along the way. The loot you get can range from new weapons to new armor. Now, as I said, there are different classes, 3 to be exact. that you can choose for your custom character. There's the Titan, the Warlock, and the class I chose, the Hunter. And I'm glad I chose the Hunter class because 1, it's the class with the most emphasis on the box art. 2, this class has a huge focus on agility and jumping. 3, the Hunter's special move, the Golden Gun, which gives you 3 shots that instantly kill opponents in 1 shot. And 4, that snazzy scarf. Now, as I said, the areas you travel to are huge, so there is a lot you can do as you play the game. Combine all of this with multiplayer, co-op play, and a huge main hub, and you've got a game that's actually worth playing on your PS4 or Xbox One. Seriously, this was one of the only games to release on the PlayStation 4 that I personally thought was remotely enjoyable to play. To me, the lineup of games for the PS4 has been lackluster, and with only 3 games coming out in 2015 that I'm actually interested in playing on the PlayStation 4, Sony, you better step up your game because Nintendo is kicking your butt! Now, why is this game so low on the list? Well, even though I really enjoy the game, even though I like a lot of the things in this game, I never really got that far into the game. Why? Because there were too many games that I wanted to play that came out, and these ultimately killed my hype for Destiny, which means my PlayStation 4 just sat there and collected dust while I played these other games. Again, Sony, Nintendo is kicking your butt. But don't get me wrong, if you have a PS4 or Xbox One and want something to play, this is something I recommend. Oh yeah, you know it. Metal Gear Rising has become quite popular in the Countdown community, and for good reason. Now, hear me out. I haven't played any of the previous Metal Gear games, so my knowledge of the story and characters are limited to just this game's story. I mean, the story is okay, I guess, but what I really love is the gameplay. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Platinum Games, the developer behind a number of action games like Bayonetta and The Wonderful 101. Thanks to their aid in the creation of this game, the awesome action that Platinum is known for is present in Metal Gear Rising, and it is just that, awesome. You play as Raiden, a cyborg ninja swordsman who is voiced by Quentin Flynn, and is capable of cutting everything to shreds. It is a feast for the eyes to see him dominate all of his opponents. I mean, just look at this! And what's better than Raiden cutting the crap out of his enemies? Simple. Cutting the crap out of his enemies in slow motion. Raiden is able to perform Blade Mode, which slows down time, allowing Raiden to hack and slash away at whatever he's cutting. Of course, he can't use this all the time. He has to constantly refuel his fuel cell to use the slowed down Blade Mode. To do so, cut enemies in the right spots, press the button when it appears, and grab your prize. Now, this game can be pretty difficult at times. In fact, the basic enemies in this game can be a challenge if you don't know how to deal with them correctly. Trust me, I've had a hard time dealing with frickin' geckos. But even so, at no point does demolishing enemies in the game get boring. To top it all off, this game features some really great, well, mostly great boss fights. Throw in some quick time events for some flashy animations, and you've got one action hack and slash game to remember. But enough ignoring the elephant in the room. It's time to address the thing that we love about this game. I almost forgot.
Nanomachine, son!
The excuse for everything. Puppeteer is a platformer on the PlayStation 3 created by Japan Studio. You know, the guys that made Knack. Screw you! I thought Knack was interesting. Anyway, the game is a platformer played in the style of a bunraku, a form of Japanese traditional puppet theater. The story of this game starts like this. A boy named Kutaro has his soul trapped inside a wooden puppet and then has his wooden head crushed, all thanks to the evil Moon Bear King. A witch named Esma Potts then finds Kutaro and sends him off to find and wield the magical pair of scissors known as Calibris. Now it's your job to travel across the moon, defeat the Moon Bear King's 12 generals, all of which are based on the Chinese zodiac, and collect all of the moonstone shards. Kutaro can use Calibris to cut through enemies and cut different kinds of fabric to reach another part of the level. With his head gone, Kutaro can use a multitude of wooden heads on his adventure. These heads allow Kutaro to perform different actions that can unlock secrets. However, he can only carry up to 3 heads at once, and if he loses all of his heads, he loses a life. So how do you acquire more heads? That's where the second control stick comes into play. Now at the beginning of the game, the second control stick controls the flying cat Yin Yang, but that spot is eventually taken over by the rescued Sun Princess Picarina, aka one of the best video game partners ever! How is she one of the best? Well, by moving Picarina around the screen and using the action button over certain spots, you'll uncover new heads to wear and little secrets that net you rewards. The level design is also very innovative, centering around the use of Calibris and the skills you learn. As for the dialogue and voice acting, it is all fantastic. Trust me, you will never tire of hearing these characters speak in this, with my favorites being Esma Potts.
You pussy-footy wussy cat, where were you? I ought to fudge! Brownies, it can't be! Did you forget you sent us off in the first place?
The narrator, and of course, Picarina. She pretty much sells this game's dialogue thanks to her constant breaking of the fourth wall with her banter with the narrator. In fact, I'd even go so far as to say her fourth wall breaking rivals that of Kid Icarus Uprising.
Forget about Kataro. How can you bring up radiant princesses and not mention me? Do your job, please.
What? How dare you question your narrator? I'm omniscient.
If you know everything, then you know who I am. Or wait, are you saving that for a surprise?
If you are looking for a unique platformer to experience, get Puppeteer. It is worth it. Now about those boss fights. You know what? I think I'll save that for another video. I never thought I would get to play this game this year, but I did. So what's the game? I'll tell ya. Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. To be honest, I never got to play XD when it came out because I kinda stopped playing Pokemon around this time for reasons I do not want to go into. But what's important is, I play Pokemon now, and I think I missed out, kinda. Taking place 5 years after Colosseum, XD follows a boy named Michael, or whatever you decide to call him, and travel across the Orate region to battle Cypher, who has once again wreaked havoc on the region. Your job is simple. Capture all of the Shadow Pokemon that Cypher has produced and stop their plans to rule the world. However, unlike Colosseum, you can actually catch wild Pokemon, although it's a select number. One thing that I like about this sequel is that you can now capture Kanto Pokemon that weren't in Ruby or Sapphire. Colosseum allowed you to capture Johto Pokemon that weren't in Ruby or Sapphire, but no Kanto Pokemon, which means you had to wait until Fire Red and Leaf Green to actually use Kanto Pokemon in Colosseum. So that's one difference between XD and Colosseum. Any others? Yes. Purifying Pokemon is now much simpler in XD than it was in Colosseum. Now you can purify multiple Pokemon at once. So you can have some Pokemon purify in the purification chamber, while you have other Pokemon purify as they travel with you. This speeds up the process big time. But one thing I found really cool about XD is that it showed Munchlax and Bonsly in the game with their in-game cries before Diamond and Pearl were even released. You even got to use Bonsly. Too bad you couldn't keep it. Now, unfortunately, the story isn't as dark as Colosseum, but it's still a fun game to play. I should warn you, it's not for anyone who's just starting out with Pokemon. I recommend playing a main series game first, then Colosseum, then XD. Now, I'm fine with them not making a sequel to XD, but if it's anything from Colosseum and XD that needs to come back, it's Mirror B. Kirby on the 3DS. Finally! This could very well be one of the most unique Kirby games I've ever seen. Now, yes, I've already talked about this in another video, but I hadn't finished the game at that time, so there is more for me to talk about. Let's talk about the gameplay. It's basically the same gameplay you'd expect from a traditional Kirby game. But this game takes advantage of the 3D by creating a background that you should be looking at all times. Obstacles will constantly be coming out of the background, and if you aren't careful, you'll take damage. And on some occasions, lose a collectible. Of course, sometimes the background isn't just there for show. In some levels, you can go into the background. This results in very creative and innovative levels, as well as cool boss fights. Of course, we can't talk about Kirby without talking about his copy abilities. And just like with other games in the series, there are a ton of abilities to play with. 4 of these, well, technically 5, are new to this game. There's the Beetle ability, which gives Kirby a beetle's horn to attack and cut enemies with. He can also buzz around like a beetle. There's also the Circus ability, but unfortunately I didn't like that one that much. Sure, it has fire, but its techniques are weird to control. Archer, on the other hand, is fantastic, even if pressing down on the circle pad with this ability in use is broken as all heck. But by far my favorite of these new abilities is the Bell ability. I don't know why, I just find this ability to be very charming with its design and techniques. Now remember when I said that there are technically 5 new abilities? Well, that's because Kirby does get a new ability to use called Hypernova. This ability allows Kirby to suck up everything. Various levels in the game are designed with this power in mind, allowing you to inhale large obstacles that are in your way. And just like other games in the series, the bosses are very good to battle. Even the mini-bosses put up a fight this time. And then there are the 2 other modes, DDD's Drum Dash, which is a rhythm-based game starring DDD, and Kirby Fighters, a mode that's kinda like Smash Bros., except it's different copy abilities with health bars. These were apparently so popular that they each got their own standalone downloadable title. Kirby Triple Deluxe should not be passed up by those veteran Kirby players or those just getting into the series. Easily one of the 3DS's greatest this year.